Okay, so our next speaker, I met in group 11 on a trip to Japan with Paul Akers. It was a fantastic trip. I actually met Ryan Tierney and his group from Seating Matters on the same trip, and we had a fantastic time. We learned a lot together, and when we got home, Ron called me and he said, Paul Akers told me that I should put down on paper and write down my knowledge that I had learned. So Ron sat down and wrote a book on what he had done at Clorox for several years. And the title of the book is Reduced Effort Changeover. And it's like SMED for people. It's about analyzing your processes and with video and seeing the problems that you have as individuals, not as leadership, as the individuals watching themselves, and then improving it. And we took the book at Fireblast and we tested it in several areas and had extreme success everywhere we tested it. And actually, we failed to do it as often as we should, and we probably would be in better shape. But we were reduced in several areas that we tested up to 75% reduction in waste and in the time it took to produce these couple of products that we tested. So it's a phenomenal thing. I'm going to turn it over to Ron Heiskell, and he'll tell you a little bit about it.
Thanks. Okay, can you hear me?
I think so.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. John, thank you. Okay. As Rick said, I worked for the Clorox company for about 24 years. I was a mechanical engineer, designed packaging machinery and installed new equipment on the line. And then the last couple of years, I became a member of their world-class manufacturing group. And they told me that I needed to go out and reduce changeover downtime because it was costing the company way too much. So I had tried SMED several years before that and didn't have much success. It took too much money and too much time, so I decided I was going to do it a new way. And I wanted to do it within 5 days and dramatically reduce the changeover downtime within 5 days. And so I developed this process. But I ran into some problems. First problem was people are very resistant to change, as you well know. Well, the solution to that is reduce their effort and they will willingly change. So if a supervisor comes out to the line and says, we need you to do faster changeovers, you may receive the response, they want me to work harder, but they're not going to pay me anymore. You know, what is the motivation for them? They're there 8 hours a day. What's the motivation for them to do faster changeovers? They don't want to work any harder for the same amount of pay. If you go to the changeover operators, they'll say, I've always done it this way. This is the right way to do it. So what's the answer here? People are very resistant to change. So how do we get them to change very quickly? Well, it all lies in understanding paradigms. So what's a paradigm? This is what it's not. Joel Barker, who built his whole career on talking about paradigms, says the paradigms are sets of rules and regulations that establish boundaries in your mind. And these rules and regulations help you to solve problems if you work within these established boundaries. So that's not very simple. The simple definition is a paradigm is your way of doing something. Okay? So there are advantages in paradigms. It makes your life easier, and it also increases a sense of security. This mountain goat here, it sets its feet on some rocks, and it tests the stability of those rocks, and then the back feet track right with the front feet, and so there's that sense of security. Well, as we build our paradigms on how to do our work, we also create that sense of security. So there are some advantages in developing our way of doing something. Disadvantages, it prevents us from accepting change. And doing it the old way is always going to seem easier than changing. So, as I looked at how changeover operators were doing this, I would talk to one changeover operator and watch him, and then I'd go to another shift and watch another changeover operator do the same job, but with their method. Everybody had a different way of doing it, and everybody believed that their way was the right way to do it. So how do you overcome this? Have you heard of paradigm paralysis? That's what happens. If your way becomes the only way to do it, then you have what's called paradigm paralysis. You literally cannot see a better way or a simpler way to do your job. So to demonstrate this, I'd like you to clasp your hands like this. And notice which thumb is on top. Now clasp your fingers and put the other fingers on top. How does that feel? Weird, yeah. So let's try something else too. Fold your arms like this and notice which hand is on top. And now unfold your arms and try to put the other hand on top if you can even do it. Now how does that feel? Now if I come to you and tell you, you need to do your changeover differently, I've got a better way for you to do it, you're just going to automatically reject it because you have a best way to do it. It's your way and you know how to do it, you're going to automatically reject it. So to further demonstrate this, let's add a column of numbers together. Now for this to work, I need you to do this out loud with me. So 1,000 plus 40 is? 1,040. Plus 1,000? 2,040. Plus 30? Plus 1,000. 3,070. Plus 20. 3,090. Plus 1,000. 4,090. Plus 10. 5,100. Most of you got the exact wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. So what is the answer? 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 is 4,000. 40 plus 30 is 70, plus 20 is 90, plus 10 is 100. The answer is 4,100. This shows you how paradigms can develop very, very quickly. So if somebody taught themselves how to do a changeover or to do a series of tasks on a machine once and it worked and it was secure, they didn't hurt themselves or hurt the machine, they will continue doing that over and over again. But what if that first way they did it, that they've only made minor changes to in the last 20 years, what if that was the wrong way to do it to begin with? And they've been practicing it for over 25 years. How do you break through that? Well, what's going on in a person's mind is this is a graphical representation of the mind. These are nerve cells or neurons, and when you do a task and follow it with another sequential task, these neurons will link together. Oops, sorry. These neurons will link together and they form a neural network. And so you get this established neural network in your brain, and that becomes your way of doing it, and nobody's going to convince you otherwise. People are not only doing this, this is happening in the animal kingdom as well. Here's a video where the owner of the dog took the screen off of the screen door.
What the dog doesn't know is that there is no glass or screen. Let's see if she'll go out. Go outside. She's waiting for me to open the door. Go outside. Can I open it? Can I open the door? I'm gonna open it because I can reach out. Go outside. Do you want me to open the door? Here, hold on, I'll get it. Come on. Isabel.
Okay, so what's required here is a paradigm shift. Discovery consists of seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. Now here's a team. I'm going to show you an example now. This is not all theory. I'm going to show you an example of a reduced effort event that took place in 5 days. In 5 days, they took the changeover from 183 minutes down to 45 minutes. 75% reduction. Now, this team was part of Highwood USA, and Highwood has agreed to has allowed me to show their final presentation to management after that week of a reduced effort changeover. They extrude plastic lumber, and they have to change their dies to change the different shapes of lumber. So the first thing they did was they videotaped the changeover, operators doing their changeover. So you'll see on the left side, they're watching the movie, the changeover. On the right side, right here, can't see him very well, but that's a changeover expert. He's operating the playback, and he's stopping it after each task that he does and explaining what he's doing. And these people back here are writing the task down on Post-its. You can see the Post-its behind him. Every single task is documented on a Post-it. So if he has to remove a 1/2-inch bolt, that's not just one task. He has to walk to the tool cabinet, open the drawer, take out the 1/2-inch wrench, walk back to the machine, and loosen the bolt. So that's 5 tasks, and those are 5 Post-its just to remove a bolt. But you have to look at it in this kind of detail in order to be able to eliminate those tasks. So they came up with 2,567 tasks that were done by one operator during a single changeover. We also showed them a bunch of tools to replace nuts and bolts. I don't believe you need tools to do changeovers. There are all kinds of devices out there without automation that will allow you to replace nuts and bolts with quick change devices. So they studied that. They captured all the ideas that were generated during the watching of the video. I should tell you that the paradigm paralysis of the individual who did the changeover broke down as he was watching himself. You have to separate yourself from doing it and look at yourself on a screen, and then that paradigm paralysis starts breaking. All that neural network in your brain starts unlinking. And that's exactly what happens when they sit back and they watch themselves doing their task. They start generating ideas on how they can work more efficiently. And of course, all the people in the room are helping them with that. And we capture all the ideas. It's all brainstorming. Nothing is judged. It's all captured. Then we prioritize those ideas. We look at the impact on reducing effort and the feasibility. Notice there's no time on this chart at all. We're not looking at time. If you reduce the effort, the time automatically decreases. You know, lean is all about improving people's lives and making their lives better. It's not about doing their work faster so the company can make more money. That happens automatically. When you reduce their effort, the time it takes to do it automatically decreases, so you don't even need to think about it. So all we did was focus on what can we do to reduce the effort and whether or not we could get it done that week. So it was a 5. We rated it a 5 if it reduced a lot of effort, and it got a 5 also if we could do it that week. So you multiply those two together, 25. That was something we definitely did that week. Then we moved all the downtime tasks to uptime tasks. Anything that could be done while the machine was still running, we moved those Post-its to another wall.
Unplug dies on heater bag 2, 3, 4, 5. Unplug non-operator side heater bag wire.
So the changeover operator is reading all of the tasks. All the group is listening, and they're deciding, based on the ideas they're going to implement that week, whether or not that task needs to be done anymore. And as a result, they produced a wall of trash. None of those tasks will need to be done anymore as a result of them getting together that week through this reduced effort process. This was the spaghetti diagram that was drawn while we were watching the video. 358 moves in 183 minutes. So a move was when he started walking. Anytime he was walking, we're drawing a line and counting those lines. The team got together on the plant floor as well as the conference room and talked a lot about the changes. What you notice here is there aren't any managers. The key to this is that you're empowering the people who do the work that week, and they don't have to ask permission to change anything in the process or the machine. They are empowered to make any change they want without asking permission. That's true empowerment. And if you abide by these rules, we allow the empowerment. It has to be simple, safe, low cost, and reversible. So if the idea didn't work, it could be reversed back to where it was. So we didn't do much cutting or welding. We'd make a new part, try that new part. If a new part didn't work, then go back to the old one. Here's one of the parts they changed. You notice this required a tool. They had 3 screws to open up this clamp, put a hinge on there. Just simple stuff like that. Then we located where all the locations were where he would work. There were 4 places where he did his work, and we identified those. And then we attached all of the tasks to each of those locations. And so location 1 had all these tasks, location 2 had all these tasks, and we tried to do as many tasks at station 1 as you could before you had to walk to another station. So you're not walking all over the machine in a random motion. And then we come up with a timeline for operator 1 and operator 2. They decided to have 2 operators do it and produce a timeline, all using the Post-its so they visually see what's going on. They get it outside of their minds and onto the walls. So these were the standard operating procedures we developed, just copying down what was written on the Post-its. This is for operator 1, this is operator 2, this is operators 1 and 2 uptime, tasks that they needed to do before the machine was shut down. They staged their tools so they didn't have to walk to a parts cart. They did that while the machine was running. So operator 1 is in the black shirt, operator 2 is in the white t-shirt. So they each have their own set of tasks, and what you'll see in a minute is the task coach is walking behind the operator reading that list that we developed. They don't have it memorized yet. So you'll see right there, he has a list and he's reading the tasks to him that he needs to do because they don't have it memorized. Otherwise, they'll fall back into their old paradigm. And here you have the coach for operator 1 reading it for operator 1. Operator 2 finished. Sometimes it's the only time some of the managers have seen them smile. This was the spaghetti diagram before. Operator 1 now 68 moves. Operator 2 24 moves. Downtime task went from 2, 5, 6, 7 down to 134. Downtime moves 358 to a total of between the 2 operators of 92 moves. Downtime minutes 183 to 45. Won't go into the detail of this, but you can see at the yellow there, they increased their production by 118,000 parts per year from this 1 week without changing, without adding machines, without adding more personnel. And that was the result. Any questions?
Fantastic. Okay, so questions for Ron. There you go.
All right, so I can talk well now. All
Sure.
right, so you started with 2,500 steps that you articulated with the rest of those.
Yes.
It's on.
It's on. That's awesome. I couldn't do that. I'd be asleep by 122. The question I have for you is, did y'all figure out the entire process away from the machine and then go to the machine and do it? Or did you go back and forth a couple of times?
We went out and looked at the machine, but it was mostly done in the conference room because we had the video. They were watching the video. of the person actually doing it, so they were able to capture all of those tasks by watching the video. The video is a key because that's how the paradigm paralysis starts breaking down.
Additional questions?
I had a question on the Post-its, on the colors and what do those represent, like in Scrum or Agile? Is that different people's operations or different actions? And then also for those 5 days, because we struggle with this on getting everything out the door currently, were you still able to run operations during that 5-day period? Because that's one of our biggest struggles.
Yeah, during that 5 days, we had to we had to shut down the machine. The first couple days, they can still run the machine if there were enough operators to do it. The third day, then the team had the ability to say, stop the line, we're coming out to the machine. So they have to be empowered to stop that line that week, so you have to prepare for that. With regard to the colors, I bought the cheapest I could find at the time. It didn't matter what color it was. I had to buy a lot of Post-its. There is a book, by the way. It's called Reduced Effort Changeover that I put out, like Rick mentioned. It describes in detail exactly how I did it. I've retired, and so before I did that, and after going on the tour with Paul, I realized I needed to get this information out so more people could do exactly what I'm doing. So it's in detail in this book. It's available on Amazon, but if I were you, I would wait till next year because Productivity Press is going to be putting out a second edition. It has an additional chapter, which is important, that I just wrote, and it has over 100 color pictures in it. So my email address is there. If you want to write that down, I'll let you know when the book is available from Productivity Press.
Would it be possible for I'm over here. Would it be possible to get the beginning of your speech about paradigms and then the math portion, if that's available later? I don't know if that's proprietary or not. Thank you.
Oliver.
Just on the facilitating, I mean, I'd say, we have everyone's empowered, but doing an event like that, how do you facilitate that regularly? So if you're doing that type of thing, I mean, do you have to then, for the next one, it's sort of another 5 days out, who's facilitating? Do they get training how to facilitate that as opposed to the operators knowing they'll get together and be able to come up with that type of improvement?
I wrote the book in such detail that someone can take the book and literally follow it step by step exactly how I do it. So that's how new facilitators can do this. I don't know if I answered your question.
So someone would need to learn to facilitate, within your organization, yes. Someone needs to learn that facilitation.
Not within my organization, but within your company, someone would need to learn that, follow the book, and they can do it as a team. You have a bunch of people who read the book and then they go in knowing what they're going to be doing. Or you have one person that has studied the book and they can just follow it step by step and produce these results.
Yeah, I actually think so Oliver, and we did a few of these changeovers, and the first one we did, like Ron was saying, it's not leadership really isn't there. It's about the team being able to do that. We did one as a kind of a dry run. It was a simple process that we did, and the leadership actually. Part of the leadership, actually, Tanner did the exercise of something that he normally does. It was about what?
We're laminating our drawings.
Yeah, laminating these drawing packages. What was the time we started with?
11 minutes and about 30 seconds.
11:30. What did you get it down to?
I think it was 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
So it got down to under 3 minutes. And what we did was we did that as kind of a dry run so that. Because Tanner works a lot with the floor, and we wanted him to get an understanding of how the process worked, and so he was the target, so we educated him. And then he carried it out being the educated one on how it worked, and then he was able to work with the process. And if you guys want to talk about the process in the breaks and in the mix of time, for anybody from Fireblast that was involved in any of the reduced effort changeover exercises, let people know that you were involved in that so that they have questions for you guys, because we ran, 3 or 4 of them right off the bat, and we're very successful. I think one of the things where, like Sherry, where you talked about the downtime, and I think we learned, and that was one of the reasons we backed off on it, was because it was taking a large amount of time, because I think we were biting off more than we could chew. And we've looked at it now and going, we're going to take steps, small processes, shorter video time, and correct it as we go. That's the new effort of the way we want to work on it. So instead of biting off the whole thing, like you see all those stickies, I mean, it was time consuming, and it does interfere with production. I think that's where we made the mistake. If you bite it off in little smaller chunks, you can probably get some really good results a lot faster. That's just an opinion from us. So, Brad.
In short description, is there a large difference between what you're talking about here and value stream mapping, or are they two of the same?
Well, the focus of this is reducing people's effort. When you put all those Post-its on the wall, they see how much effort they've actually put into this. The operators are shocked when they see all those Post-its on the wall. They're also shocked when they see that spaghetti diagram. So that shock part, that shock value, helps to break down the paradigm paralysis. And I don't know that just value stream mapping is focused on doing that. But the focus of this is to get people to accept change and make their jobs easier.
Okay, so we're going to take a 15-minute break. Everybody restroom, coffee, get everything ready, and then Alex Boxhorn is going to join us for the next speaker.